To the next stay-at-home workout video with Philly Yongmudo Temple Hapkido. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. We're going to be doing something hopefully a little bit more instructional, providing a little bit more feedback to those that are live. I don't know how long we're going to take. This might go a little bit longer than we usually do. But by the same token, if you're watching this recorded, I will hopefully have edited down the segments of me just staring into the screen. But, you know, maybe I won't. So, yeah, all you need is a water bottle and a towel. We don't need any special stuff. And what we're going to be working on is formal blocks and strikes. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I mean and why we're going to be doing what we're doing when we get to that. In the meantime, we'll do our warm-up. And as usual, just try to enjoy the workout. Have a good time. Get the most out of it you can. Don't stress about things. There's enough stress going on in the world that this should be kind of your moment of zen away from the rest of the world. Especially today, it's supposed to be like 95 and humid and chance of thunderstorms. So staying inside where it's nice and cool and having a good workout. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our warm-up. Back up to where you've got some space to do some stuff. We're going to do very much our similar routine. So let's start off with 50 jumping jacks.
And ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 10 more, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Good. All right, next, we're going to do 2 circuits of our crunches, back arches, push-ups. So, go ahead, find a piece of mat or floor, whatever you have. We're going to start off with some very simple crunches. Whatever your choice is on any of this stuff, if you want to double time me, half time me, make it harder, make it easier, you feel free to adapt it to what you need. I'm going to be doing a very easy crunch. Shins pointed up at the ceiling, hands behind my head. Do not yank, just rest the hands here so that you're not jerking your head or jerking your arms. All right, let's go ahead and do 20. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Good. On your front. Back arches. Basic Superman's hands and feet come up at the same time. I would look to one side and then switch part way to look at the other. You don't want to look straight at the ground because you're likely to smash your nose. So that's bad. All right, so let's go ahead and do 20. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switching sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Push-ups of your choice. Come up to a high plank position. Hands underneath your shoulders unless you want to do something interesting. And we're going to do 10. And 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 0. I know that's really 11, but hey, squeeze one in for fun. Okay, next set of abdominal exercises. I'm going to do leg lifts if you want to do crunches or sit-ups or whatever. Bicycles, that's on you. Hands underneath my hips. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 2 more, 19, 20. Good. All right. Push-ups. Last set. I'm going to go a little wide this time. And shoulders a little bit over my hands. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Good. All right. Next exercise we're going to do is our standing up to base. So, this is kind of a good all-over body workout. Gets a little bit of abs, a little bit of back, a little bit of legs. So, we're going to start left hand up, left knee up. Right leg is on the ground, right hand is on the ground. And the basic movement on this is right foot's going to be moving. It's going to travel in an arc. And we're just going to come up to a nice, easy stand. All right, knees are still slightly bent. Otherwise, I've got a fairly good posture. I'm not coming perfectly stock still upright. And then hand goes down, and we come back down. We'll do 10 on this side, and then we'll switch and do 10 on the other side. So, any questions on this drill? This is an instructional day, so this is where you get to ask all those questions. All right, so left hand is up, left foot is up, right foot is moving. And 1, down, 2, down, 3, down, 4, down, 5, down, 6, down, 7, down, 8, down, 9, down. Last one on this side, 10, down. Good, switch sides. Now, right hand is up, left foot is moving. Gotta move a little bit, maybe I can see you guys a little bit better. And 1, down, 2, down, 3, down, 4, down, 5, down, 6, down, 7, down, 8, down, 9, down. Last one, 10, down. Good. All right, up to a stand. And last element of our warm-up, we're going to do some stretch kicks. So left foot forward, right foot back. Remember, as we do our stretch kicks, we want to have a good upright posture. Hands stay up. And we're going to rotate on the support leg, whichever one that is. Since we're kicking with the right leg, left leg is support leg, left leg should rotate. All right, so first, straight up and down, stepping through, nice and easy. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and switch. All right, since I get a chance to watch you guys, look over here. I'm seeing a little bit of leg coming up, but hip kind of staying back, okay? As we're doing this, we want the hip to open up a little bit more. That way we're getting the lift, but as basically the more you kind of keep this condensed, the less you're getting the stretch on the support leg side, okay? So as I do this, I'm getting a little bit of stretch on the hamstring, but this side isn't opening up. So we want to see if we can keep that good posture. Push that hip forward. All right, right foot forward, left foot back. Where was I? All right, easy stretch kicks. 1, 2, better, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, good. Switch. Left foot forward. Right leg is doing an out to in stretch kick. Again, let's push that hip open. getting extra stretch in along on the support leg and the hip and inner thigh. And 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Switch. Right foot forward, left leg out to stretch kick. And 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Switch. Left foot forward. This time we're going to do an in to out. Remember again, push those hips forward, open up on that support leg while keeping a good posture and hands up. All right, in to out. Ready? 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And switch. All right, take another look over here. On this in to out, I like to get a lot of rotation. So as I begin to move forward with the left leg, my chest is turning to the right. The knee is now going to come up and follow, and then I'm going to open up and my chest is now going to turn left. So my chest is going to track kind of across a whole 90-degree range or more through this stretch kick. All right, right foot forward, left leg back, left leg into out. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. All right, hips rotate around. That turning of the shoulders helps me think about turning the hips and opening up the hips a little bit more. We want to use this as a chance to open up those joints. All right, let's take a moment here, and since we're going to be doing a lot of stance work, I want to stretch the upper body some, because what we're going to be working on with our formal blocks and strikes is probably going to do more tense work up here than legs. So next, nice big circles. Switching directions. Good, looking right and left. Remember, squeeze at the sides. Hold it for a brief second as you squeeze. Good, right ear to right shoulder, left ear to left. Try to keep the shoulders where they are. Let the shoulders themselves relax down and try not to move them at all. Good, down and up. Again, gentle squeeze. Good. All right, shoulders. Easy chain breakers, forwards and back. Open up different angles. Good. Back twists. Do them how you like for today. I usually like to start with my judo kazushi. Right hand pulling back to the right, left hand pulling back to the left. Going slow enough that I'm kind of squeezing the muscles into the twist, not just trying to rip start it. All right, now I'm going to switch to elbows, and this is a little bit more just push it and then let velocity do the twist. Knees are bent, protecting the knees. Good, down to the hips. We already did that a little bit, so we'll make it quick. Down to the knees. Starting shallow, working away slowly deeper and deeper. We will be doing a bunch of stance work, so your knees will get some work. Good. All right. Upright right foot coming up. Nice circles, 5 clockwise, 5 counterclockwise. If you're having trouble balancing, pick a spot like on the floor that isn't moving. extensions and contractions. Good, let's switch feet. I've got my left foot up, nice big circles clockwise and counterclockwise, 5 each direction with my big toe. And extensions and contractions. Think about those kicking positions. I know we're not doing kicks today, but let's make sure one thing you're doing at home in your free time is work in some of these ankle positions, trying to strengthen the feet so you can make them do what you need to do. So we're doing kicks. Good. All right, let's go ahead and pause, grab a quick drink of water,
and then we'll switch over to our instructional section. Okay, so while you're grabbing water, maybe a little bit of towel, we're going to be focusing today on formal blocks and strikes. Yongmudo uses formal blocks and strikes as, we'll call it, a more pedagogical tool. So some arts, like maybe karate, are going to use in sparring the formal blocks and strikes almost as they practice them in class. What we are doing them, though, is using it as a pedagogical tool to think about how the muscles should work, so that when we start moving to more applied situations, we can get those the same muscles working in the same directions, even if the overall movement is going to be a little bit smaller, maybe sometimes much smaller. But the idea is that we are using this to kind of build our muscle memory, and that way you can start to think about which muscles are engaging in our blocks and strikes as we use them. So what we're going to use today, though, is we're gonna step even a little bit further back, and we're going to use what I'm going to call a narrow front stance. So first off, one way that we could practice formal blocks and strikes would be in a horseback stance. Right now, I've got about, this is one shoulder width. If I kind of look at myself in the screen, I can go one shoulder width. And then 1.5 shoulder width is usually about what I like for a horseback stance. Meanwhile, if we went into a front stance, then we're going an extra shoulder width. And of course, we've now turned. So the way we talk about a formal front stance in class is a shoulder width of width, but then 2 shoulder widths or a little bit more of length.
This is a really good, solid front stance, but it's going to make it a lot harder for me to think about the muscles that I'm using. And as I do that, though, it's going to put a lot of strain on this front quad, more than we need to. So what I want to actually do is let's narrow it up. We're going to go to kind of a 1.5 shoulder width length front stance, okay? And this is going to now, the problem is that really quickly we're going to get this knee past these toes, and that's not a good place to be for strength of the quad and strength of the knee. So that's bad technique, yes. But narrowing up the stance a little bit is going to help us in thinking about some of the rest of the technique, okay? So after today, you can kind of practice it a little longer. You can practice in horseback stance. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that at the end. But for now, we're going to start with what I'll call a narrow front stance. So we're going to be out 1.5 shoulder widths of length, 1 shoulder width of width, and then we're going to start by dropping our weight back a little bit. Okay, so start 50-50, and then we're going to drop our weight back a little bit. All right, questions so far? Yeah.
So is this more of a back stance?
No. A back stance would be closer to like 60-40. Some might even say 70-30, okay? But I don't want a back stance because now the weight is so far back that it's hard to generate force going forward. Back stance is very defensive, and it's great for like front leg stuff, but it's hard to think about moving forward. So this is going to be 1.5 length, 1 width, and then we're going to call it like 60-40 maybe. All right, maybe 60-40, not 70-30. And this way we've got enough that we can push off that back leg. Makes sense so far? Okay, so let me just check my notes. Okay, So what we're going to do is we're going to work on so go ahead and get out of the stance for a second before you get tired. We're going to work on 2 basic motions from this short stance. One of them is going to be good for reverse punch, in-out block, down block, upper block. The other one is going to be good for out to in block, out to in low block, maybe front punch. These are not going to be great necessarily for soft blocks. So we're just starting to work. We're going to work on a very narrow set of stance in terms of strikes and punches. Okay? So the first one we're going to start off is, let's go ahead and get into this position. The first one we're going to start off with is our one that we were going to use for like reverse punch, into out block, down block. But we're going to build. So the first thing we're going to do, let's see, I want to see if I can get my angle right. Okay, so I've turned towards the camera. I've got about shoulder width of width, a shoulder and a half width of length, and I've dropped my weight back a little bit. The first thing I want you to do is just think about this front knee. I want you to drop the front knee kind of forward and a little bit out. Forward and a little bit out, okay? So mostly forward, but not perfectly forward. We also want to go just a little bit out. Oh, sorry, feet. Feet are turned about 20, 30 degrees to the inside, and we're going to be punching and striking kind of towards down this line here. So you can see my feet are facing out here. And now for this one, I'm going to kind of drop my front knee a little bit forward and a little bit out. So from here, we're going to keep both legs bent. You're going to go from your 60-40 to like 60-40 the other side, mostly just by letting that front knee drop forward and a little bit to the outside. Okay? From the side, it's going to look a little bit like this. I'm just going to come in here, okay? Just thinking about that front knee. So let's go ahead and do that about 10 times. Sarah, we don't want to turn too much here and now turn out here. I want it let's make it just kind of the knees and maybe hips, but shoulders aren't going to move too much. My shoulders are moving maybe about 10 degrees in terms of, twist, right? So I'm not going to come here and now here and back and here. I want to think just about these kind of legs and hips, but right now we're starting just with the knee. We're 60% of our weight back. We're going to just kind of relax that front knee, become 60% of the weight forward, and come through, all right? Now, this is awkward. This is a bad position for this knee. We've already said that. We're way overbalanced on an awkward position on this front knee, but having the narrower stance lets us think about this movement without getting stuck too much. So just keep that in mind. All right, next motion. We're going to try to now think about, I want you to forget about the front leg, and we're just going to think about this rear leg, okay? So for this rear leg, I now want to make sure the knee comes in a little bit. So I'm starting my 60-40 stance. This right knee is going to track in a little bit. The support foot is going to have to turn in just a little bit. And now I want you to think about the quad primarily pushing forward. The quad is going to push the hip forward. You might feel a little bit of glutes, but not too much. I want you to think about feeling this quad extend. So the quad is doing all the work. And let's not use the hands yet. We're not using the hands. We are feeling that quad hopefully start to burn just a little bit as we stay low. And then that knee drops in, and then the quad pushes us out, okay? I'm trying to find a slightly different angle. We're here, I'm 60-40 back. The knee drops in, and now it's just that quad pushing forward, all right? So from the side, the knee drops in, and it's just the quad pushing forward, okay? And as you can see here, my left knee past my toes, not good, but we're really just trying to use it as a way to think about what this other quad is doing, okay? Questions? What I want to do is now take this into our reverse punch, okay? Slow reverse punch. This isn't about speed, and I don't even want you really thinking about this other arm, okay? This other arm may as well just, cut it off. It may as well be dead to you, okay? from here, we're going to start in our narrow front stance, okay? Legs bent, weight 60% back, 40% forward, hand on the hip. What I want you to do now is I want you to push that forward here. All right, we're putting both motions together. The left knee is going to drop forward and out. The right knee is going to drop to the left, and then the quad is going to push it forward, okay? Nice and easy right in here. Not too much shoulder, a little bit of hip, but I want you thinking about this hip driving forward. And most of the work is done by the weight shifting forward on the left foot, and the right leg is driving. That quad is starting to get tired. Let's go ahead and do it 10 more times.
Yes.
Your punch is coming late. So you're getting here, this hip is coming forward, it's almost there, and you're like, oh yeah, I gotta reach with the hand, okay? We want it to go together. So as soon as this hip starts moving, that hand is starting to move, okay? Sarah, remember what I said before, where I had an instructor who said I was overly stylizing. So you are overly stylizing. When you bring your weight back, you're opening up, turning the chest too much away, bringing this hip too far back, and so you've got too much turn, okay? For now, let's keep the eyes forward, try to keep the chest fairly square to where we're going, okay? So chest is fairly square to where we're going. It's not going to turn here, boom. We're not doing this. We're coming back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. All right, let's go ahead and stop. We've been doing all the same stance, same side, so that quad is getting tired. So what we got to do now is switch, right? So let's go to right foot forward, left foot back. Again, we've got one shoulder width of width, about a shoulder width and a half of length, so it's not very long. Dropping the weight back onto the left leg, about 60%. Don't forget, toes are going to be turned to our left about 30 degrees. And now what I want you to do is think about driving off the back leg on the quad, and then the front knee is going to turn out as the knee drops forward and to the outside. Yes, that knee is going to be overbalanced. It's not actually a strong position, but this helps us with the motion of this technique, okay? And then we'll break that habit later after we get the other ones good and strong. So forward and back, nice and slow, not too fast, not too much shifting on the shoulders, a little bit of pushing that left hip forward with the quad. Push that left hip forward with the quad. We're here, push that hip forward with the quad. Push it. Push it. Good, all right, let's go ahead and do it 5 more times. Let me see what I can see. Yeah.
So should our hip be turning over a little bit, or is it just translating diagonally mostly?
It is turning, I'm getting maybe about, I'm trying to think of how much my hips are turning. It's maybe 10 degrees. It's not pushing a lot. I'm mostly thinking about how to get this quad and glutes driving that system forward, that I'm thinking about a twist at this point, where now the quads are having a harder time getting engaged, and we're doing a different motion. So I'm thinking very much about this forward motion driving with the legs. Okay? Does that make sense? Good. Okay, so let's go ahead now and let's go to our reverse punch. So, again, we are going to start, let me get a little closer. I don't know why I'm getting so far away. Okay, so we're here. We're about, let's go back to the basics. One shoulder width of width, shoulder and a half of length, 60, 30, right? Weight is dropped back. We're going to add in our reverse punch, okay? Squeeze it, drive it forward. Squeeze it, drive it forward. The right knee is going to drop forward and move a little bit to the outside. But I want you to feel that quad pushing the hip forward. Quad is pushing the hip forward. So let's go ahead and do 10 on your own. Jeff, it's hard for me to tell. It looks like you're punching across yourself. Too much of a tightrope. That's what it is. So take your right foot. Remember, you want to have a shoulder width of width. You don't want them on the same line, so we don't want a tightrope. We want to have a shoulder width of width. Yes, yeah, there we go. Much better, I think. Good. And remember, that shoulder width of width is all kind of the direction you're punching. So if I have a shoulder width of width here, but I'm punching over there, then I've given up that shoulder width of width. So it's all about kind of where the feet are compared to where you're punching. This is, perfectly good, but if I start punching here, now I'm going across and I'm on a tightrope. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and stop. Let's go back to our, we started on left foot forward, right foot back, right? Okay, from here, what I want you to do is let's start our 60-40. I want you to do let's put the hands on the hips, and I want you to feel the right knee drop in, the right quad begin to push, and as it pushes the hip forward, let the left knee slip forward and to the outside, okay? So let's do that just a few more times each. We've switched sides. I want you to feel just this motion. Good. All right, next let's go and we're going to do our in to out block, okay? So same basic idea, all right? We're going to come in here and we're going to do our in to out block. For me, I like to think my in to out block going mostly forward. Yes, it's crossing my body, which you can see it's crossing the body here, but it's mostly going forward. So from the side, it's here. It's going mostly forward, just a little bit crossing the body from hip to shoulder, all right? And of course, we're doing that with this quad and with the knee, so we've got our short stance, so we're driving off the rear leg, feeling that quad really beginning to work, getting tired, all right? So let's go ahead and do that, handful of times each. Okay, let's go ahead and pause. Jeff, I think I'd like to see you come just a little bit more forward. Remember, because we're on the short stance, we're going to overdo it, so it's going to feel a little bit off kilter, but I want you to but that's going to help us think about the drive that has to come off this hip. So you will end up a little bit of lean, you will end up too far over that knee. That's okay for this drill, okay? Will, I'd like to see you pause here, drive, then come back, drive. You're going 1, 2, right? So let's pause, drive, pause, drive. Next one is upper block. We could do down block on this. We do a lot of down block, so let's together go through up block, okay, upper block. So the basic idea on upper block, again, is we've got a shoulder width of width, shoulder width and a half of length, 60% of our weight back. The hand is going to start down here at the opposite hip, and I'm going to come up, bringing slightly across my body. It's going to start from the hip and end kind of at the right ear. So it's only going to move laterally like 3 inches, 4 inches, and then coming forward. So from here, it's coming forward. And again, because we've got a short stance, we're over the knee. That's all right. Boom. Ideally, you should have about a fist width of height and a fist width of distance forward from your own forehead. And of course, you want to have a nice straight arm here so that, when you go to upper block that baseball bat, it slides down and doesn't break your arm. In theory. So come on in, boom, boom. All right, so let's go ahead and do that about 10 times. And again, you're thinking about that upward block, but you're really also just thinking about this basic motion, trying to move the hip, use the quad to push the hip forward. The left leg isn't doing a huge amount as far as driving weight into it. It would mostly come from the left leg allowing the weight to drop forward. Questions?
Should your back knee be going over your toe at any point? Because I feel like I'm winding up there when I've got it loaded up.
Oh, yeah, that back knee is perpetually in front of the toes. When I'm back at 60-40, my knee is in front of the toes. And then as I drive forward, that knee stays in front of the toes, might even move a little bit more in front of the toes as this right hip goes forward. The issue that, all right, so the issue I am trying to work on though, is as we are driving, let me see, I'm trying to think about the angle. I'm going to go to about 45. What we don't want to do is have the knee pointed 45 degrees out and then driving forward, but mostly you're kind of moving, the inside of the knee forward, pushing off the outside edge of the quad. Instead, what we want to do is we want to drop that knee in so that quad is almost facing straight forward so that we aren't using the weak muscles on the sides of the knee for our drive.
So even when it's loaded up, your knee should not be pointing in the same direction as your outwardly pointed toes? It should be downing in a little bit more?
When we are loaded up, it's static, right? My weight is over that foot. So it's not it doesn't matter where it's facing because in many ways it's right underneath it anyway, okay? It's when we go to drive and that hip pushes forward that we really want to make sure we're bringing that right foot in more and then pointing that foot and that quad in the direction that we're going. I don't get perfectly straight in, so as we're here, I don't get this foot turned straight at the direction I am going. That's really difficult, but just a few degrees of turn lets me get the power that I need, but still protect that knee. Okay? So when we're loaded back, it's underneath, it's not a big deal. I'm not pushing off the sides of the knee very much. It's when I go to push forward that I want to make sure that knee is turning in a little bit more. Okay? Let's switch sides. So we are now back to right foot forward, left foot back, shoulder width of width, shoulder and a half width of length. And we're now going to do our in to out block. Remember, we're coming mostly forward with this arm. Try to make sure the knees are dropping as they're supposed to, right? So my left knee is going to drop in, point the quad as much as I can forward, drive off. Right knee is giving, letting my weight come forward, and we're putting that with our in to out block. And yes, don't forget, knee is way past the toes. That's not good for actual stance work, but we're just practicing this leg drive today. All right. Let's go ahead and skip upper block. I want to get to the second motion. All right, so the second motion, let's go ahead and let's go back to left foot forward, right foot back. This time what we're going to be thinking about is out to in blocks. We're going to be thinking about out to middle block, out to low block, maybe a front punch. So what I want to do is let's start in our stance again, 60, 40, I almost said 60-30. I don't know where the missing 10 went. 60-40, weight slightly back, obviously, because we got the 60%. This time what we're going to do is I want to think about, we're now going to be dropping the weight forward. So the first thing I want you to do is this front knee, before it was kind of going forward and out, this time it's going to come in. It's going to come across. It's almost going to come perpendicular to the direction we are thinking about the attack coming from. So if the attack is coming straight down this line, this front left knee is going to drop across. It's going to move slightly forward, okay? But I want you to think about bringing that knee across. As that knee comes across, this left hip is probably dropping down just a little bit, okay? There's a little bit of slip downward as this right knee comes across, okay? I can't keep the knee at the same height because the bottom is fixed, right? So it's like doing this. On some level, it's just kind of tilting like this. So that knee is coming across, that is bringing the hip across, and the hip is dropping down a bit, right? Questions on that? Okay, now we're going to add in the back leg. This time, instead of the knee dropping in and pushing forward, it's actually going to push. I want you to think about pushing the right hip backwards, or sorry, pushing the right hip to the left, So we're basically moving 90 degrees. The left hip is moving 90 degrees right. The right hip is moving 90 degrees to the left from the direction we're facing, okay? So I'm going to push off in here. So I'm basically doing a twist on the upper body. Okay, questions?
I think I'm observing this right, but just to confirm, you're not really pivoting on the ball of your feet.
No.
Here. It's all in the knees and hips.
Yeah, this is all in the knees and hips.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes. So the ankles are working a lot on this because the hips are turning above it. And so, yes, the ankles are working a lot. Okay? All right, so we got this motion. We're going to have the left knee drop in, the right hip pushes back. Okay? So now we're going to put this in with our out to in block. Okay? Hand starts up high, close to the ear. First I'm going to face straight at the camera. From here, I'm dropping it across. So the left hip is moving 90 degrees to my right. The right hip is moving 90 degrees to my left. Basically, what you can think about is that as the right hip tries to move 90 degrees to the moving left, that's going to actually push the hip around, and so that's pushing on the left hip to come forward. Does that make sense? And again, on this, I'm coming mostly forward, okay, on the arm. So I've got my narrow stance, my left knee is dropping in, my right hip is pushing the left hip forward as the right hip kind of sinks off to the left. Again, lots of quad on this. Questions? So here's what I'm seeing. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. What I'm seeing is motion forward. I'm seeing this left hip go forward on you guys. And let's not do that. We're not going forward on this hip. We are twisting in place. So notice it from here. My shoulders are not moving forwards and back. As I go into it, I'm not going forwards and back. So basically this left hip is not going forwards. It's coming across. So this is the direction that the attack is coming from. My hip is going to be coming towards the camera, not orthogonal to the camera. All right, so I'm not coming here, I'm turning here. So my left hip is coming straight towards you. My right hip is getting pushed straight away from you. All right, let's go ahead and do a few more on that side. Okay, let's go ahead and pause. Let's now do an out to in low block. Still left leg forward, still right leg back. So the exact same muscles are getting worked. And what I'd like you to think about doing is now let's get a little bit lower. I want you all to try to get a little bit lower. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with our hand here, kind of along our ribs. I like to think of this as a ridge hand driving across. So not a sweep, but a ridge hand spearing through. And hopefully I'm going to catch whatever it is here. And it's mostly the downward force of the strike that pushes it off to the side. I don't want to sweep. Okay? Now, as we're doing this, this hand is going to end up more or less in line with my front toes. Boom. So I'm not going to move forward into it. I'm shooting down and using the twist to create the force that moves that implement across. Okay, so let's get low, and we are twisting into it. We're low, and we are twisting into it. Left knee drops across. Left hip drops across. Right hip pushed back. So use the right quad, push that hip to the side. And Will, again, we don't want to come, I don't want you to come forward, so I don't want this shoulder moving forward. The shoulders are going to turn, but I don't want my center of mass moving forward in this drill, okay? So basically, my weight stays, maybe gets to 50-50, so it goes from about 60-40, maybe to about 50-50, but I'm not going to shift very much at all forward. Okay, let's go ahead and switch. Let's go to right foot forward before our legs get too tired. All right, so we're left foot forward, right foot back. We've got a shallow front stance, only 1.5 lengths deep. We're going to start with our out-in block, okay? And again, we're moving the right hip across. The way we're moving the right hip across is letting the right knee kind of drop a little bit, but this left quad is pushing the hip back, and as it pushes my left hip back, my left hip is connected to my right hip, so pushing back that left hip is going to push that right hip forward. Okay? So now let's do it with our out-in block. Good. Couple more. I want to see the hip turn. The hip needs to move on this as we drive, okay? Because it's the hip that is responding to the movement of the leg muscles that creates the force that we need for this, okay? Good, good. All right, let's go ahead and let's go into our out-in low block, okay? Again, shoulder width of width, shoulder width and a half of length. Drop that weight back a little bit onto the left leg. We're going to do the ridge hand across. That ridge hand is ending up in line with the front toes, so it's not driving very far forward. And notice that the chest is not coming forward. I'm not moving forward into it. I'm using the left leg quad extension to push on the hip to drive the other one forward. Yeah, so watch for a second here. The idea on this ridge hand is that I'm going slightly across, but I'm also spearing out. So again, like a lot of this stuff, I'm thinking about kind of connecting part way, and that gives a little bit of push here. But I don't want to swing across here, because remember what that does for the elbow. If I hit something strong way out here, but my shoulder's moving across, trying to create force, I put the elbow at risk. So instead what I want to do is drive forward, and mostly this way I'm engaging a pushing motion and catching, and as I catch I can divert it off to the side a bit. Questions on that? Okay, let's go ahead, stand up, shake it out a little bit. And just for a couple of minutes here. So I'm thinking we're going to go for maybe about 15 more minutes, the last 10 of which will be stretching. So 5 more minutes of stance work if you can do that. If you need to leave early, I understand. So what we're going to do now is I want you to start in this shallow stance, left foot forward, right foot back. But if you want to grab water, this is a good time to do it. Now what I want you to do is we're going to take a small step forward. We're going to end up in our usual front stance. We're going to start here, end up in this usual front stance. And now as we do that, I want you to think about first motion number, we're going to start with motion number 2, because this is what we were just doing. So I want you to think about driving this out to in block. And as you drive here on the out to in block, think about how my right leg, the right quad is pushing that right hip behind me so that I can push the left knee forward and drop it into the out to in block, okay? So from here, we're driving in here, right? I'm coming forward, but you can see my right hip is dropping back a little bit as it pushes the left hip forward, and my weight ends up then over these toes a little bit, and this way I can get the force coming in here. All right, so I'm going to push here, and there's a nice twist, and we come forward in there, okay? And let's go ahead and switch sides. Let's try it on the other side, right foot forward, left foot back. You're going to start in your shallow front stance, and you're going to drive, take that small step, drive forward. And now we're getting to this full extension. Boom, I'm really feeling this in the glutes, that corner of the glutes. Now that I'm getting that fuller extension because I've got that extra step, I can feel the glutes squeezing this forward here, driving that right hip forward. Good. All right, let's go ahead and switch now. Let's go to motion number 1, and let's do it with the reverse punch, okay? So, left foot forward, right foot back. We're going to start in our shallow stance. You take the little bit of extra step forward. This is the left knee now dropping to the outside and forward, right? And so we're thinking about this rear leg. Knee is dropping in, knee drives, come back, knee opens up a little bit. Come forward. Okay, so Will, 1, I want you to move this back knee first. So break it down a little bit into steps. 1, move that knee first. Then we're going to step a little bit deeper forward with that left foot. Okay, so you're starting here in your stance, drop the knee in, drive forward as you do the punch. I mean, front stance, for some people, but the way we use it, front stance isn't a practical fighting stance, but moving into front stance lets you think about how you can get this big motion that we just worked on and make it even bigger, okay? So that's why we want this long front stance for this sort of drill. All right, Sarah, I'm guessing, but let's watch that over stylization. So as you come back, notice that you can see my arm. You're starting to disappear back here and then come forward and punch. And then you come back here and that arm disappears. And I can see the angle is turning. We want to try to keep the angle of this arm so that it's probably visible in the screen. So we're here, and now we're going to come forward, back, forward, instead of coming back to here, because we want a short distance. This elbow now has to travel in a hook and then come forward, and we want a straight line, okay? All right, so it'd be kind of like winding up back here to come in and punch. Instead, we just want to punch right in here. We don't want to bring it back here, so we have to come around. Okay, Jeff, same thing I told Will. Open up a little bit more. Take a longer step, extend the body out a little bit more. So you're going to start narrow here, and then as we take this step, boom, and now we're driving forwards into it. I'm a little too shallow. There we go. All right, so we're here, boom, driving into it. Because we want this chance on this formal front stance to think about this opening up motion where we can really get all these muscles really into our blocks and strikes. Good. All right, looking much better, looking much improved. Let's go ahead and stand up, shake it out a bit. Remember, we're trying to use this narrower stance because it's going to give us a chance to get some good motion here. Not too narrow, a compromise. And that way we can really think about what these legs, quads, glutes, calves, ankles are all doing. And a long stance, which is kind of what we're working up to on this, you can do it, but we're going to get tired a lot faster, I think, especially on this front support leg. So this way we can think a lot more about the rear leg with this narrower stance. Okay, let's go ahead and do a quick warm down, so a cool down stretch. So just twist, arms, good. All right, holding still, just shoulders, nice big circle. Squeeze it back, bring it forward. Squeeze it back, bring it forward. A couple more on your own. Switch direction. Good. Arms, easy circles forwards. And going a little smaller down to the elbows and down to the wrists. Switching directions. Elbows. Yeah, I'm doing elbows and a little bit of shoulders. And now the whole arm. Good. Quick chain breaker. Good. Back twists. And down to the hips. Good. All right, let's go ahead and get feet about hip width apart. Hands reaching up nice and high. And forward fold.
Yeah, we were using our lower backs a lot. And bend the knees. Ragdoll up, hands reach high again, forward fold again, hands slide up the shins, come halfway up, and forward fold. And I guess I've started at the back edge of my mat, so I'm going to walk the hands forward, do a high plank. If you want to shoot back instead, that's fine. Holding a nice high plank here. And low plank. Upward dog. Roll the toes under, drop back, downward dog. My downward dog is shorter than my plank, so I've got to move my hands or feet. Walk out those legs just a little bit, taking turns on the calves. Good. Rock forward to high plank again. Low plank. Upward dog. Roll the toes under. Downward dog. Right leg goes high. Three-legged dog. Trying to keep the hips parallel though to the floor still. And bring the right knee into your chest and then step forward. We're going to come up and we'll be in a side kick stretch. Right leg is bent, left leg is straight. Leaning back on that left leg. Good. Turn to your right, crescent lunge. I know I'm getting a little bit of shaking here, but hey, we're doing lots of stance work, so it doesn't surprise me. My legs are now shaking just a little bit. Put that knee down, gently pushing hip forward. Good. Drop the chest down. Right hand goes underneath and around the right leg. And untangle that hand, bring the foot back, we're in a high plank, low plank, upward dog, downward dog, left foot comes high, three-legged dog, left knee comes to your chest and steps through. We're moving into a side kick stretch, left leg is bent, right leg is straight. Sorry, I'm facing away from you. Turn to your left, crescent lunge. Trying to open up the abdominal cavity a bit to help with the stretch of the right hip. Putting that right knee gently down, still pushing that hip forward. And dropping the chest down to the ground, the left arm goes underneath and around the left leg. Good, and from here, let's just go ahead and sit down on the ground where you are. Right foot, I'm going to pull back for a quadricep stretch. Remember to keep the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip all in the same plane. We don't want to put torque on the knee. We just want to stretch out the quadricep as best we can. And sit up, take that right foot, swing it across over that left knee. Gonna hug that right knee into your chest. Trying to drop that right hip to the ground. And right hand goes behind, left elbow goes over the right knee, back twist. Remember to keep the back long, lifting the top of your head towards the ceiling. Good. Untangle, left foot pulling back, stretching out the quadriceps. Again, trying to keep everything in the same plane so we're not torquing the knee. And sitting up, left foot swings over the right knee. Hug the left knee into your chest. Straightening the back. Dropping that left hip towards the ground, feeling the stretch in that left glutes area, left corner of the hip. Back corner. Sometimes when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling it, then I'm gonna sit here for an extra second or two. Hopefully you don't mind. All right, left hand goes behind you. Right elbow goes outside the left knee. Back twist, again, keep the back long. All right, we'll go ahead and end there for today. For those of you with us live, yes, this was about 15 minutes longer than we usually do. Hopefully it was a good workout. So let me know how the feedback works, because this is our first time trying to do a more instructional model.
We're going to try to do more of these, not necessarily formal blocks and strikes. It might be kicks or throws or whatever, but just taking a little bit more time to be able to watch what you guys are doing to see how it's working out for you. Instead of just getting all, burning some sweat, we want to improve our technique a little bit too. Of course, at the end of the day, we all know that this is kind of an imperfect situation for teaching. It's hard to see exactly what's going on. It's hard to, get that intimate feedback we sometimes need. We're just going to do the best with what we got. So in the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, guys.